Good evening and welcome to another edition of Talkin' Wrestling. I'm Ralph Williams along with Smokin' Jim Frazier, and tonight we have a guest on our show tonight, national talk show host Neil Haley, and he is also a former professional wrestler, and he's going to get back into wrestling. We're going to talk to him coming up shortly. Smokin' Jim by phone. How are you tonight, Smokin' Jim Frazier?
I'm doing great, buddy. Can't wait for the show.
Oh, absolutely. You know it's hot. Tonight we're going to talk about WrestleMania card. There's some changes in it and some other matches being added and taken out. And I'll explain to everybody why this year's WrestleMania is being done on the cheap. And I'm going to show, and I'm going to tell you why, because they're letting wrestlers go, people in the office go, because I'll tell you that shortly as soon as we're done with our interview and working with Neil Haley here. Also, don't forget we're on our 4 platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. And also don't forget the archive version. And I need 8 more subscribers on my YouTube channel so that I can make 100. I'm up to 92 right now, so let's make that 100 for us. Okay, I welcome you, Neil Haley. Neil, welcome to the program.
Hey, man, it's so great to be here. And again, it's interesting bringing back the whole Pittsburgh thing as I'm in Dallas, Texas now. But I'm excited to talk to you. And then I know that my buddy, Jim Frazier, who you came on a lot with Coach Hall, right? Remember back in the day, Jim and I would do some of the radio stuff together with Coach Karen Hall, right, Jim?
Did you hear that, Jim? Smoking Jim?
Yeah. I learned a lot about how to do business from Neil Haley and Dr. Karen Hall. They had such a great show going out there on BPTV and other places, man. It's just an honor anytime to be in the presence of Neil Haley.
Thank you so much. All right, so Ralph, I'll let you get it going. I don't do many podcast interviews or even radio interviews or TV, so because I produce 15 shows a week or 16 shows, I'm interviewing all the time. So I'm excited to kind of play another role today.
There you go. Neil, I understand you used to be a professional wrestler. Explain your career, and I understand you want to get back into it.
So in some ways, it depends on, I don't know what role yet. I am back in the education business in other ways with my marketing agency, and I'm not decided. I want to wrestle a celebrity, as I went ahead and challenged Riddick Bowe to a fight on my show. I've challenged some other people with jiu-jitsu. We'll talk about it. But I was trained by Charlie Fulton and Iron Mike Sharp back in the day in around 1993. And I wrestled locally in Pittsburgh, then nationally all over the country. Worked for Jerry the King Lawler, wrestled for Burt Prentice, wrestled a lot of the big stars, beat Jerry the King Lawler, room with the Headbangers, wrestled so many different guys in the industry. Scrap Iron Adam Pearce, so again, Adam's a big star in WWE now. I wrestled him when he was 19 years old in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Beat Rhino for specific titles. So I've seen all these guys at one point till they made it to the top. So I retired in 1999 in Bremen, Germany, wrestled in Bremen for Otto Wanz. So I had some experiences. I had a cup of coffee for 9 years and then moved on to something else. But I want to know what you want to know about pro wrestling, because I'm here because I'm going to shoot from the hip, especially for the Pittsburgh wrestlers out there, where Pittsburgh never gave me the shot I deserve compared to other places in the country. And I wonder why, when you're a local wrestler in a local area, you're not going to get pushed to the level that I did get pushed in other places all over the country. As, again, a legitimate 6'10", 7-footer, the true only giant of professional wrestling locally in Pittsburgh for many years. Go ahead.
Wow. What kind of wrestlers in Pittsburgh did you meet when you wrestled here?
I mean, it was Lord Zoltan, T. Ranchula, Dennis Gregory. I was at PWX for X amount of years. Then went to Steel City with Norm Connors, Lou Marconi. The list goes on and on. Ralph, were you a fan locally that time?
Yeah, I was a fan. I used to follow WWF back when San Martino wrestled and all that. I never really got into the
local wrestlers. Were you ever into the local scene?
No, I never got into the local scene that much. No.
How about you, Smokin' Jim?
Smokin' Jim? Are you there?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah. Neil asked, have you ever been involved in the local scene with wrestling at all?
Not too much on the local scene, other than attending some of the local matches and whatnot, and some of the promoters, like Tom, our good friend. But no, not too much with the local wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Neil, what other? I mean, I know you said Tarantula and all that, and the local wrestlers. If you were to come to wrestle here now, which local wrestling company would you work with? IWC, Keystone.
So you know them now, Ralph, then, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
RYSE. There's a bunch of them now.
So
They're all
I
over
would
the place.
I don't know where I would go. It all depends. And how's PWX doing, by the way? Any news on them? What's happening?
They're doing okay from what I could tell. And
Mhm.
you got a bunch of independent people out here now. They're all over the place. They're in West Virginia. They're in Ohio. This Saturday, there's an event going on in Youngstown, Ohio. There's more independents now than there ever has been. And next week, or I think this Saturday, IWC has Sean Waltman, X-Pac. He's going to make an appearance at one of their events in Bell Vernon. And then I'm a follower of Matt Taven, and Matt Taven's going to be somewhere in West Virginia or Ohio, I think. And at the Youngstown event, I think someone's going to of no name is going to be there as well. That's how I think. And Keystone State Wrestling Association, what they do is they do mostly fundraisers. Like, for instance, if a church wants to have a fundraiser, and they'll have a wrestling event for them, and they mostly perform at the VFW over in Sheridan, and they go all over the city, actually, in Pittsburgh. But I've seen them mostly there. They've been in Springdale lately.
You're talking about KSWA, right?
Yeah,
KSWA.
KSWA, yeah.
Okay, and that's where Tarantula, Bubba was part of the Dog Pound with Bubba. So I know all those guys.
Bubba, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He's not in wrestling no more. He's still DJing, though. He's still on the morning show at 100.7.
Yeah. He's
and he
smart.
has a couple restaurants.
He's smart. He went into radio and television like I did. That's smart.
Yeah.
The media is a much better source. No, I mean, the thing is, I'll probably be KSWA. I don't think I'd ever go back to something like PWX. It'll be interesting that, I don't know. It's so interesting to decide if I would go back in the ring or not go back in the ring. It's you miss the ring. Everyone says, hey, let's go back in. But you think about the injuries and the challenges that professional wrestling brings every day.
Right.
And is it worth it for people? And there's lots of people out there. It's interesting. I had Jimmy Cicero on my podcast last week, radio show, and Jimmy and I were talking about wrestling. He's got a promotion out. He's out training people in Alabama with Crusher. I mean, not with Crusher, with Koloff.
Right.
And Barry Koloff is running an Alabama organization. He was, again, with the Dog Pound with me, Bubba, and the late Shocker Sean Evans. Basically, we were the Dog Pound and PWX. Then I went on as Big Neil, the Real Deal, in Steel City Wrestling. And that was my local time. And I was Future Shock back in the day when Mick Foley was wrestling and different people like that, if you're looking at the Pittsburgh area. But there's still a lot of guys still left in Pittsburgh, still wrestling. That have been wrestling about my age, but it's a handful. And
Shane Douglas just signed with Memphis Wrestling. That's that new wrestling sponsored by Car Shield. Memphis Wrestling. They're on YouTube. They have a YouTube channel, and you can watch them on YouTube every week.
Yeah, I was seeing Dundee's partner, Bill Dundee, who again I worked with down south with Lawler and stuff. I see Dundee's very involved in Memphis Wrestling, and they have a TV show and all that. So who are they bringing in? Are they bringing a lot of the old Memphis guys back?
Some of them, yeah, but they got Shane Douglas there. They had Teddy Long. He was acting JM for a little while. They have if you ever watch the WWE, the tag team, The Ascension, one of the guys from The Ascension's there is a single wrestler. They got some guys. They had a couple ROH guys there as well. But they've been mixing it in and out. Eddie Kingston's been making his rounds because he's no longer contracted with AEW.
Who's running the Memphis Wrestling? I just saw it on
Car Shield.
Huh?
Car Shield's running it.
No, but who's the promoter?
I don't know the promoter off the top of my head.
I saw that I'm friends with him on Facebook with Bill Dundee, and he said Bill has nothing to do with this. Is Bill wrestling still for Memphis?
I haven't even heard if he is or not. I don't know. I know who Bill Dundee is, but I haven't heard anything, but I know this new Memphis Wrestling's run by Car Shield.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So interesting that they're back in the game. And is Wolfie and Jamie going in there or not?
I have no. They have all these new announcers and some of these newer wrestlers and some guys coming up from independents that they have, but they also have some seasoned wrestlers like Gangrel and a few guys that have made some appearances in Memphis Wrestling. But Shane Douglas just signed with them now, and he's been going all over the place. He was just in West Virginia like last month or something for a wrestling event, so he's still making his rounds.
Yeah, you can keep making your rounds. You make a decision if you want to make those rounds or not.
Right.
And it's just the same guys. It's amazing to look at specifically the signings and a lot of the guys that are around. I saw Jamie and Wolfie are back doing the rounds on the scene and signing and stuff like that. And I got a story, I guess, to tell on that, Ralph, where basically I did my only TV taping for the WWE. And it was me and Derek Stone, who's a big star big independence wrestler all those years, trained by Charlie. We wrestled Crush and Savio Vega, and Jamie and Wolfie were the Nation of Domination. Were on the underneath the outside the ring, and when they threw me out, they're kicking me and they're laughing and joking around with me because again, I worked with Jamie and Wolfie for Burt Prentice, and I worked with Jerry the King for Lawler's with Jamie and Wolfie, and they're just great guys. And I wonder, and they're back wrestling again. You see the specific people making the rounds and continue to make the rounds. It's an interesting thing. So that was cool. The late Crush and then Savio Vega. Savio has the meanest chops you've ever seen in the world.
Oh, I remember him.
Chops when Savio chops you, you better watch out.
Oh yeah,
specifically. And that was in Omaha, Nebraska, at the Omaha Civic Center back in 1997. So I finished in 99 when I was about 25 or 26 years old. So I wrestled from, 20 years old to like 26. So,
yeah, if you make a comeback, Neil, I'm sure you're probably going to take it slow. Maybe make an appearance here and there, or find somewhere.
I don't know. So I'm thinking I'm now coming up with an idea that, here's the thing. The people who make the money, this is the shout out to the wrestlers that decided not to use their brain, and they should use their brain after learning this business, because this business absolutely teaches you how to be a marketing genius. And you learn so much from wrestling that you can use in marketing today. It's just the way they market it. How things get over and how you lead people to a sales page or a specific thing. I would want to go back into wrestling as a manager, as a bodyguard. I don't want to wrestle anymore. Why would I want to take bumps and all that stuff? Be involved. I have one of my clients that's getting trained out in Chicago. We'd love to come back to Pittsburgh in another phase where I could just be on the mic. You look at specifically this business now and the amount of guys that got beat up and how much money their net worth after so much time versus Vince McMahon. When he buys the WWE, when someone buys the WWE for him, he's going to get the $1 billion. Triple H is getting $2 or $3 million. Stephanie's getting $2 or $3 million. Those wrestlers aren't getting paid that much. Really, as Hogan would look at, and probably Stone Cold and The Rock saying, man, the money was really good back then. It's not really good now. Ralph, it's not to the level that you go and get an NFL contract or a Major League Baseball or NBA. You bust your butt and you literally are making not that much. So if I'm coming back to wrestling, I'm coming back to wrestling in a behind-the-scenes manner, specifically maybe even managing somebody, getting on the mic, bodyguarding. That's it. No ring for me.
Hey, you know what? You'd be great on the mic.
I would be shooting on everyone in this business from that back in the day. And then they want.
No, I'm enjoying the conversation though.
All right. I was just asking Smokin Jim if he had any questions for you, Neil. So.
All right, go, Ralph. What other questions you have for me? Other stories I can tell in this time.
I'll tell you some stories. I used to drive a cab, and I was coming in from the airport, and I used to have the airport Marriott out here in Pittsburgh as an account, and they called me on my cell phone. They said, can you come down here and pick up Paul and take him downtown? So I get there, and it was The Undertaker, Paul Bearer, and Henry Godwin, and I had to take them downtown because they were driving into Pittsburgh, and they hit a deer out by our old airport terminal, and they walked all the way to the Marriott, or had the van come and get them and bring them down there. And what happened was they were staying there. A lot of the wrestlers used to stay there because I worked there as a bellman and I took up Batista's and Rey Mysterio's luggage. So I got to meet Dominic when he was wee little. I got to meet Dominic. You know, not the size he is now, but it was back like in 09, 010, 08, something like that. And he's like 26 now. So, you know, he was about 8 years old, maybe 10, you know, somewhere in there. And I got to meet Dominic, and I got to see Ray without his mask, which I've seen many times anyway, you know, because when he was in WCW, he was part of the Filthy Animals. He didn't have his mask on. And
Right.
he was in that with Dean Malenko and the Chris Benoit and some of them guys back in the WCW days in the 90s. But I got to see him. I got to meet Dave Batista. Both of them very nice guys, very friends. And I got to meet them. And then I took Paul Bearer and Henry Godwin into town because and Undertaker had to wait for another cab because he had to book the room. And I took Paul Bearer into town. He was fighting Mabel that night. Undertaker was fighting Mabel for the King of the Ring title at the Civic Arena. And I says to Paul Bearer, I said, what do you think about Undertaker fighting Mabel? He said, Mabel is a fat blinkety blink. And I'm not going to tell you how you said it, but he said he's nothing but a no good fat blinkety blink. And I went, oh,
I wrestled Mabel, and he did not stiff me in the match. I worked him in Parkersburg, West Virginia. And everyone's telling me Mabel's going to be tough. He's going to be really stiff with you, Neil. And he was great. The late Mabel. Remember, God rest his soul. He passed away.
Yeah.
So I wrestled him in Parkersburg, West Virginia.
Wow.
And, I put him over at the end for the good old awesome Arpin. Ran that organization in Parkersburg, West Virginia. He's still on Facebook, by the way. Shout out to Arpin. And that was great stuff. The NWA West Virginia was a lot of fun. There was a lot of great shows. I got to wrestle the Bushwhackers in NWA West Virginia. He brought a lot of different people in, Arpin, when he was running NWA West Virginia back in the day.
Okay, Gary, the wrestling promoter here, says he wants to know what our thoughts are. Does Cody go over at WrestleMania? Does he beat Roman Reigns? What do you think, Neil?
They paid him. They better, right? Or is The Rock going to interfere? But I heard it. So I'm just saying, they better put him over, right? It's going to be what the smart marks want. And that's why the business sucks the way it sucks. It's because the smart marks control the business now. So anyone could get in the ring and they look like they're worth something. It's not the way it used to be. They're not giants of wrestling, even though they're trying to bring him back. With Vince being gone, Triple H might still want that. But the bottom line is Cody's going over, and Cody's going to go over because they paid him. And Reigns will take something. There'll be some other feud to develop. Maybe even though Brock Lesnar's leaving, maybe Brock will get involved. I just think that they're going to give Cody the title because they gave Cody the money. And they want Cody to leave AEW for that reason. And then the smart marks want Cody to go over. So I think Cody's going over. Even though I don't watch wrestling at all anymore. But I'm going to give you that take is they're going to pick somebody who's going to get over and draw. And they want to say that they made a good decision by letting Cody come from AEW to WWE.
Tony Khan here. Gary has a question about Tony Khan, and he said, what's going on with Tony Khan? Well, I'll tell you what's going on with Tony Khan. Tony Khan's at it again with AEW. He's trying to sign all these wrestlers, and I just found out today that there's 2 former WWE stars that he signed or is going to sign here shortly. And you're not going to believe who they are, and I'll tell you shortly who they are. But anyway, he keeps on signing all these wrestlers, and he has no TV time for them, and they get disgusted. Look at Miro. Look at a couple of these guys, a bunch of these guys that came from the WWE. Now, they want to go back to the WWE, and they want out of their contracts at AEW because they're not getting no TV time. But he bought ROH. He has that dark show, Evolution, on YouTube. And I heard he's adding a 3rd TV show, Tony Khan. So we're going to find out what happens and if he can get enough TV time for all these wrestlers he has that he keeps on signing. And they're getting disgusted. Look at Eddie Kingston. He had to convince Eddie Kingston to go over to ROH because he didn't have no TV time for him on AEW or anything in the script for him.
But what I'm hearing is they're not paying these guys well either compared to WWE.
Yeah, WWE isn't, no. But, I mean, AEW isn't because I'm going to tell you this right now, Neil, in case I don't know if you follow a lot of these wrestlers a lot. A lot of these guys are wrestling in AEW, ROH, MLW. They're fighting in NWA. They're going all over the place to fight more. Look at Matt Cardona. He's been in the independents, formerly known as Zack Ryder, the Long Island IC. He's in NWA, MLW. He's been fighting on Impact. He was on AEW a few times. I guess these guys don't get paid that much that they have to go scrambling all the way around. In WWE, if you work for them, I don't care if you're the janitor, you're not allowed to work anywhere else other than the WWE. So, that's why a lot of guys don't want to go to the WWE, because they want to work elsewhere. New Japan, they're working all over the place.
Because they want to get paid, and they're still not getting paid to the level.
Yeah.
They should be smart enough to go to WWE and try to get over. But then you just get over with Triple H in the specific business. Right. I mean, it's really what AEW has done. And this is probably, what if Vince is working with Tony Khan? What if this is all a con? And this was the competition, and then he bought all these wrestlers, and to do this for a buyout at the end, that it makes no sense at all. What AEW is doing, it makes no sense what the WWE is doing. It's like they're trying to kill the business so no one comes in to bring back wrestling. Because it's not wrestling. It's not neither organization's true wrestling. It's never going to be the level that it was before. And the reason they're doing is they're saturating talent, not figuring out specific talent, bringing people in, and that's it. There's nothing to it. So if you're going to be booking and signing all these people, at least WCW back during the Attitude Era, they figured out how to use all the talent right.
Right.
They put the right booking, but it goes back to guess who was in the back and room. Guys that knew the business.
You know what, Neil? Anymore. Tony Khan had that opportunity. He had Cody Rhodes. He had the Elite. He had the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. They were all executive vice presidents. And then all of a sudden, he wanted to do it all, just like Vince McMahon. And now, Tony Khan is a wrestling fan. He's a billionaire as a wrestling fan. He was never in the business. Vince McMahon at least has experience enough to be in the business, enough to understand how to run the business. And the Triple H and his daughter Stephanie and Shane and anyone that's running anything in the WWE, they know what they're doing because they've been trained appropriately. Tony Khan was just a wrestling fan with billions of dollars that decided to start up AEW, and the guys that to help them get it going, he's chasing them out now, because I'm hearing the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega are coming to WWE. They don't want no more part of this AEW thing anymore.
So I'm thinking, what if this was all a work and then Vince and Tony are working together?
Yeah, that could be. I don't know.
When is WWE supposed to be sold? Is it
they're trying to sell it after WrestleMania. And I got word from a good source that this WrestleMania is being put out on the cheap, because they're trying to show the new investors that they can, quote, save money, that if they buy the team, they're not going to have all this money to spend. You understand that they're going to have to spend other than what they pay for the WWE, and Vince McMahon's trying to put that out there. So if you notice this year, they've cut the matches down so far, and they've had to add a couple that haven't even been determined yet. And Bray Wyatt's not wrestling; he's ill. I heard he went mentally insane again, and he's ill. And they had to cancel the match with him and Lashley. They're trying to find Lashley an opponent. We don't even know if Rey Mysterio is going to fight his son. We don't know that either. That's still a mystery. By now, if it was in past WrestleManias, we would know all this stuff already. But
so then that means pretty much that Vince has silently quit. He wants paid. He wants out and do something else. Triple H is going to run WWE well whenever someone else comes back in. He has I had Triple H on my show, and he flat out said he wants to provide the value, every type of wrestling, which I don't know if the true wrestling fan, which the smart marks, all they do is sit on their hands. They're an absolute waste to the business. Mm-hmm. You killed the business.
Yes.
Paulie killed the business. And he literally was going bankrupt to do it. And then they all modeled it. I had a talk with Jimmy Cicero, and Jimmy Cicero and I said this: the way for the business to come back is old school. If we don't go back to old school wrestling, good guy, bad guy, people getting into it and on their hands, getting an entertainment. I think if you could create a Circus Olay for pro wrestling that's going to go back to old school wrestling, but they look like wrestlers, tell stories, entertain the fans, good guy, bad guy, have the television level that everything's out there, it would get over.
Yeah, it
Now,
would, Neil. You're right. You're exactly right. And let me tell you this. I talked to some people in the independents, okay? And they're telling me they're making more money now than they ever made because I'm going to explain why. Number one, it's a closer thing. You can interact better with these athletes, and even the ones that are celebrity athletes like Sean Waltman, for instance, at IWC events. And I know a woman who goes there all the time. She's daughter of a friend of mine. She goes to every one of their matches, and she says you can go right up to Sean Waltman and get an autograph, and you don't have to go through security. You don't have to go through none of this mess or nothing. You don't have to sign up for a meet and greet or nothing like that. You can get closer to the wrestlers at these independent matches. The price is cheaper, and it's more, local affiliate. Like, for instance, let's say it's at the Ross Straver Ice Arena out there in Ross Straver, PA, and you live out that way. It's easier for you to get there than it is to drive all the way to Pittsburgh.
Independent professional wrestling
Yeah,
is being up close and personal.
right.
You go and run in an arena, and I've remembered wrestling in arenas, and I'm like, how do I get reaction except the front row versus when you're in a crowd and everyone's close up to you. It's really fun. It's fun, and it's telling a story. And as I remember for a fact, there are wrestlers that say, what the heck are you doing out there? But they're not going to – the money is there. The independents are there. Pro wrestling will always be something. It's an exciting thing. It's something different. And I don't know the whole war of AEW and WWE is going to happen. If WWE's bought, there's a good shot it could end. And AEW is the only one on top. And Tony Khan could be following WCW's plan. And you never know if he talks to Eric Bischoff every week. Because Eric literally would love to screw Vince at the end.
Oh, I know he would.
And Eric basically had a genius idea. So the way I would recommend is if you were in the business when I was in the business and you watched WCW and WWE, the truth is in these documentaries. See the documentaries. Everyone that wants to mark out the ECW, see the wrestlers didn't get paid 90% of the time.
No.
Yeah, they got paid later, but was it worth it? And if they'd say it's worth it, that's great. But Paulie literally did not know how to run a business. And so at the end of the day, do you think that making it so ECW made it so difficult to get a pop and how to up the crowd and make it the next crazy thing, was it really worth it, guys? You have to make a decision compared to some people that would just lock up and get a crowd of 17,000 or 18,000 in the independents and not have to do so much what these guys have to do today. And it was, and a smart person told me this. I was thinking about making a comeback 18 months ago. I just want to be behind the scenes. I want to be somebody who could draw a crowd based on me being the media giant, and that's the bottom line. Any independent professional wrestling organization, I could build you a community and outlast and get everyone from one of the independents to the other. Because at the end of the day, all they're looking for is something that's going to bring people to the audience, see pro wrestling, and see it the best way and have a good show, a family show. KSWA, I think, probably is the one that does it the best out of all of them in that family atmosphere. Maybe not be the youngest wrestlers, but it's telling a story and bringing an audience together and bringing pro wrestling fans because they're great fans. Not saying great about the smart marks. And that's going to be my big thing if I ever come back on again, is to talk about the smart marks. So Ken, if there's any other things, Ralph, you want to add before I got to jump off, but I really appreciate
I understand you have a tough schedule. I don't. The Smokin.
No, absolutely. You can follow me. So, guys, just go to neilhaley.com right now to find out what I'm doing today. And the last story is The Rock wore my knee pads back in Memphis back in the day. So if you watch Young Rock or you run things, I'm going to tell, hey, Rock, and The Rock and I will be doing something soon. FYI, that's a goal. I'm asking the universe for that. But I want to be involved in another way of wrestling. And that's what I'm asking. If anyone wants to reach out to me and be involved in that way, I'd love to be that. The most fun I had was producing wrestling from behind the scenes and being in the ring. And that's why I'm the media giant. And I appreciate it, Ralph, for the time. And
no problem, Neil, anytime.
And Jim, good seeing you, brother.
Same here.
Take care, guys.
Smokin, Jim.
All right, see you guys.
Hey, always good hearing from you, Neil.
All right, see you guys. Take care.
All right, have a great one,
Bye.
Neil. Thank you. That was Neil Haley, former professional wrestler. He's getting back into it behind the scenes. We had a nice discussion about a bunch of stuff, and it was great having him on the program. It's great to know him as well. You're watching Talking Wrestling here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. I'm Ralph Williams. My co-host by phone is Smokin' Jim Frazier, if you're new to the program. All right, Smokin' Jim, let's get into the WrestleMania proposed card here a little bit. But first, I want to talk about Alexa Bliss. There was some bad news I got today that Alexa Bliss has some kind of a skin cancer thing, and that's why she hasn't been around a lot. What's your thoughts on this Alexa Bliss thing?
Yeah, it was disappointing to hear. You know, she's one of my favorites, and she got fans all over the world. Late word that I did get is that she's clean and has been cleared. So I don't know if that's breaking news or not, or she's going to be coming back. But I hear she's clear now, so that's good. That's a good sign. Even if she doesn't wrestle again, that's a good sign.
Yeah, well, she could be cleared. She could be a manager. She could be wrestle part-time. I'm sure WWE will be more than happy to accommodate her. Again, I don't know, but maybe they would be. Their women's division needs a little bit more help. I think that, adding or trying to get Alexa Bliss into something. The original plan was to get her in this thing with Bray Wyatt, but we all know what Bray Wyatt's been doing, and that's one-match Bray, I call him, as you know, or no-match Bray. You know what I mean? Because he really hasn't done any kind of wrestling. And I agree with Vince McMahon. I mean, I don't blame Vince McMahon for being angry with Triple H about bringing him back and not putting him in any matches. I mean, this is unacceptable. I mean, here's a guy that sat out for almost 2 years now because he wanted all this money to wrestle. He wanted more than anybody. I mean, and he really never even wrestled that much anyway. So what I'm saying to you is, here's a guy that wanted more money and wanted to wrestle less. And, it doesn't work that way in Vince McMahon's eyes. You see what I'm saying? So when Triple H brought him back, Vince McMahon said, wait a minute, what are you doing here, guy? I mean, you're bringing this guy back here, and since October of last year, since he's been with the WWE Smokin' Jim, he hasn't done anything but wrestle LA Knight, and that's it. And then we see Uncle Howdy, which is his brother Bo Dallas, okay? We haven't really seen him in a match, okay? And then they were supposed to form the Wyatt Six or something like that. Dexter Lumis was rumored to be in this thing. They even talked about Edge. I mean, it's been 800 people's names have been on these lists, including yours and I. Our names are on that list too, to join up with Bray Wyatt. They were talking about bringing back Eric Rowan. They're talking about, it's just all, Alexa Bliss, Harry the janitor. I mean, it's just everybody. But, it just didn't work. And now he's sick again. And he's had mental issues over the years. And that's just, it's crazy, so. But anyway, so one other piece of news I wanted to tell you is AEW is in the process of signing Nia Jax to a contract, Smokin' Jim. What do you think about this?
Wow. That's surprised me a little bit. What you think, buddy?
Yeah, that surprises me too, because here's the deal. She was just in the Royal Rumble back in January, and WWE was prepared to put merchandising out there to bring her back into the fold. And I think her contract ran out or something, and she decided to just move on. So they ditched that, and now she's going to sign with AEW. That would be a big-time thing for their women's division, because their women's division really needs some help. I mean, WWE has a good women's division fairly. I mean, they have a good one. They just need to get it back to where it once was. And I'm hearing stories now that AEW and ROH are getting together for a women's pay-per-view for women's wrestling, just like WWE did many years ago when they did that Evolution thing. Remember that? So
yes.
Now AEW and ROH are getting together, and they're going to do something like that. So, Tony Khan is copying all Vince McMahon's ideas, but they'll work. Doug says here, Nia Jackson, Nyla Rose would be a great match. Absolutely, Doug. I would agree with you on that. How about you, Smokin' Jim?
Oh, that would be an awesome match.
Oh, Can you imagine that? The ring might fall apart with them too. Oh, your other girlfriend was on this past week wrestling. What's her face? Not Piper Niven. She was on wrestling the EST this past week.
Yeah, tag
Yeah,
team match. Yeah.
yeah. Piper Niven. Formerly known as Dewdrop. Oh my. Wow. So anyway, we're going to go over the WrestleMania card here a little bit, Smokin' Jim. But one more exciting guy that AEW is going to sign. You ready for this? They're going to sign Bill Goldberg.
Wow.
His contract ran out last month. WWE said, no, you can't come back. And in case you didn't forget, and those of you out there who didn't forget, Goldberg, the last 4 matches that he's had, guys, has all been, guys and gals here on the show tonight. He has the last 4 or 5 matches have been bombs. I mean, he didn't wrestle good at all, and he lost. So WWE wasted time with him on these last 4 or 5 matches, especially that one against The Undertaker in Saudi Arabia, where it was just like it was a quick match, and it just didn't. You know what I mean? Let me tell you this about Goldberg, everybody. I like Goldberg. I really do. But you can't get Goldberg in a match beyond 10 minutes because he doesn't have any wrestling skill. Okay? He has the same moves, and he always was so quick at beating an opponent. And he's like Wardlow. Wardlow's the same way. Wardlow has no wrestling skills. Wardlow basically the powerbomb move and his strength, and that's it. If you get Wardlow in a match beyond 15 minutes, you can beat him. Okay? And Powerhouse Hobbs just beat him this past week. And, all he had to do was attack a knee or something like that. Wardlow is not that great of a wrestler. And until he gets more seasoned, I don't think he should be involved in any kind of title reigns. I mean, with AEW, I think they're wasting their time with him. I mean, I like Wardlow, but it's just that's just what's going on right now. And he got lucky and beat Samoa Joe. But Bill Goldberg and AEW, what do you think could happen, Smokin' Jim, with that?
I don't know. I'm in shock right now that the WWE didn't want a legend like that back. But man, what a great career he had. Man, he went years and years and years without losing. And I'm just wondering if he's going to take his son with him.
I remember when he was fighting Lashley. Okay. Here we go. Noel says, am I going to ignore comments from viewers? You might as well not even go live and just do conversation over a personal phone call with Smokin' Jim. Wonderful. No, Noel, you know what? I'm tired of you asking me every single time you come on here about what do I think about Jamarcus Russell. Okay? You always come on here and say that, Noel. That's why I don't answer your comments. So there you go, Smokin' Jim. All right. Doug says here, do you think the AEW needs a U.S. tag team title belts? Yes, they do. AEW has, they need to have their own TV title, not just ROH's. ROH is going to go in a separate entity. They're looking for a network to get on right now. But right now they're doing pay-per-views. You got to be part of some honor club to watch them online. And so that's what's going on there. Let's go over the WrestleMania 39 matches, Smokin' Jim, right now. While we have some time here, we're going to do our top 10s. We're going to wrap it up a little bit tonight here because we had our guest on. So, Undisputed Universal Championship, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. What do you think? You think the fall of the bloodline comes or no?
Man, I tell you what, man, the more I'm paying attention to this, the more it's setting up for, the fall of the bloodline, brother.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, now you got the Usos going up against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. And that's going to be an interesting scenario. And after WrestleMania is over, I've said this many times, and now it's been confirmed that the WWE is going to separate the belts. And they're going to have another draft in September again after SummerSlam. And I'm hearing that Roman Reigns, I just found out yesterday, I read a report, Roman Reigns is going to be off until SummerSlam. And guess who his opponent might be at SummerSlam?
Who?
The Rock.
Wow. So Roman will still be champ.
No. He's not going to be champ. Cody will be.
Okay.
Cody's probably going to win the belt, but he's going to come back and fight, because I'm hearing now there's all kinds of rumors here about the Judgment Day, and I got some good news, some news for everybody about that. But you have to tune in tomorrow night to our Wrestle Talk show on Blog Talk Radio. I have some information for you about the Judgment Day that Mark and I had called this months ago, and now it's happening. The fall of the Judgment Day, and you're going to find out how it's going to happen tomorrow night. I have some big-time report about what's going to happen, but tune into our Blog Talk Radio show tomorrow. 8 o'clock start time tomorrow, because we have the TV show. And if you live in Pittsburgh and Allegheny County, Channel 21 Comcast 47 Verizon Cable, we talk, Smokin Jim and I talk a half hour of sports and 30 minutes of wrestling. So you can tune into that. We'll be talking about WrestleMania and some other updated news reports. And then tomorrow night at 8 p.m., 347-205-9631, myself, Mark Mancini, Smokin Jim Frazier, we will be talking. I have some news for you about Judgment Day. It's going to blow your socks off. And wait till you see this and hear this report that I'm going to air tomorrow night on Blog Talk Radio. But I'm not going to do it tonight, because I want people to listen in tomorrow on Blog Talk Radio for the Smokin Jim. All right, Raw Women's Championship, Bianca Belair versus Asuka. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's still the EST's time. I think Belair will win that one.
Yeah, so do I. SmackDown Women's Champion, Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley.
Man, that's tough. That's going to be tough.
I think
man.
that's a toss-up. I think it's a toss-up.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
I can see Charlotte losing her belt for sure.
All right, undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship matches was confirmed last night and from Friday. The Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I see the fall of the Usos coming with this match too. I see the fall of the Bloodline. I hear WWE has plans for Solo Sikoa. He's going to turn face, and after the Bloodline goes down and the Usos get beaten here and everything else. What do you think about this? These stories?
I just don't see Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens beating the Usos. I can see the Usos losing, getting beat by a number of different tag teams. I just don't see that one beating them.
Yeah, well, they are going to break the belts up too after WrestleMania. SmackDown's going to have their own tag team belts again, and the WWE or those Raw tag team belts are going to go back to Raw. Now, here's a plan that they're going to come up with, and I'm told they're doing two fatal four-ways. They're going to do a fatal four-way tag team match with 4 tag teams, and whoever wins that tag team match there and they're going to have 2 matches. They're going to have one on Raw, and then they're going to have one at WrestleMania. Them 2 tag teams will battle for the Raw tag team belts in the future. Okay. Then they're going to have a fatal 4-way for the tag team, the women's tag team belts, and for both championships, they're supposed to have a fatal 4-way as well. I don't know if they're going to do that, but I know the tag team belts are going to do another fatal 4-way tag team thing, and whoever wins that match gets a shot at the tag team title holders, Becky Lynch and Lita. So that's going to happen as well. And then don't forget, you have the 6-lady match. You have Trish Stratus, Lita, and Becky Lynch versus Damage Control. What do you think of that match?
Well, just to go back to piggyback on what you just said, I really don't like that idea of the belts. I think that Raw should have a belt that's a unique world championship belt, and SmackDown should have a belt, whether it's the gold belt or whatever. I just think it's just better to keep the world championship separate.
Yes.
There, you can always have a U.S. belt and some other kind of belt as well. But the world championship, it should be the tag team and individual should be separate from Raw and SmackDown, in my
Doug says, I hope Cody wins, but what if Randy Orton comes back? And what makes Cody lose to Roman because Cody was under Randy's legacy? Well, that could happen too. I'm hearing Randy Orton will be back the Monday Night Raw, and also the new Smokin' Jim. And I'm glad that Doug brought this up about Randy Orton. He's not going to be involved in WrestleMania. He's coming back the Raw after WrestleMania. Him and Riddle both are coming back. So you're going to see both of them the Raw after WrestleMania. Smokin' Jim. So that details as well. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's good news.
Oh yeah, and Doug says he thinks Theory will win. And when will Braun Breaker comes to the main roster, I could see him taking the title from Theory because Breaker's dad and uncle are both champions. Yes, that's right. Braun Breaker is Rick Steiner's son. Scott Steiner, him and Scott Steiner were tag team champions many years, and they've had individual belts as well. I see, here's what I'm seeing going on here. You do know Smokin' Jim NXT's having their pay-per-view the same night as WrestleMania, but I think it's going to be earlier than that, or the night, but that Friday before. And I think that's the Friday before. They're having their pay-per-view. Carmelo Hayes is fighting Braun Breaker. Now, the rumors that I'm hearing is that Braun Breaker's going to win that belt. He's going to, reclaim his belt. And he's going to and Carmelo Hayes is going to be bumped up to the WWE and join the Hurt Business. And that's not going to happen until after WrestleMania. But I just want to let you know, that's the rumor I'm hearing so far. It would be nice to see Carmelo Hayes involved in the Hurt Business with Cedric Alexander, Shelton Benjamin, and Omos. So, we'll see how that works. And Doug also says, I believe Dominic will do something against Conan, and when Ray will break loose on Dominic so at WrestleMania. Conan is supposedly, if there is a match, Smokin' Jim, another rumor I heard today was if there's a match between Dominic and Ray, Conan is going to be in his corner. WWE, him and WWE are trying to work that out to have Conan make an appearance at WrestleMania. Conan is also presenting Rey Mysterio with his Hall of Fame induction trophy as well. You think that match is going to happen, Smokin' Jim? What do you think?
I'm not sure. What you think?
Well, I think it's going to happen. It has to sooner or later. This has to stop, this Ray and Dominic thing. It really does. I mean, I think it's atrocious. It has to stop. And I think it would be best for him in his Hall of Fame career, Ray, that he does fight Dominic and bait him. Okay? I think his legacy will be tarnished if Dominic beats him. I'd hate to see that happen. That's why I think Ray needs to beat Dominic and fight him at WrestleMania. All right, next match here. Let's take a look here. All right. Brock Lesnar versus Omos. What do you think, Smokin' Jim?
Almost.
Okay. Yeah, I think Brock Lesnar's kind of worn out his welcome in the WWE. I think it's time for him to hang it up. I do know this, though. Brock Lesnar and his family are going in business. They're opening up a bunch of butcher shops. He is a master butcher. They have a shop. They have shops up in Canada, and they're bringing them into the United States, Smokin' Jim. So you're going to see Brock Lesnar meats. So there you go. Yeah.
Get a little beef jerky from Lesnar.
There you go. hey, tomorrow night I'll bring you some good Amish beef jerky if you like to. Because I have some fresh Amish beef jerky here at the house I can bring down to you tomorrow at the station. When we meet at the station tomorrow. Yeah, there you go. All right, Doug says he thinks Bobby Lashley might interfere in Brock Lesnar's match. That could happen too. And Lashley could be part of this Hurt Business as well. I'd like to see that. That could be an angle right there, Doug. Thanks for letting us know that. I appreciate you watching, by the way, Doug. And I also appreciate, everyone that has watched the show tonight. It's been a great show so far. And Gary, the wrestling promoter, also, I appreciate him tuning in as well. He tuned in last night to Sports Corner a little bit. Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul, Smokin' Jim. Here we go. What's his name? Logan Paul hit Seth Rollins again in the mouth and knocked him out. What do you think?
Man, it could happen again.
Yeah, it could happen again. You're right. All right, United States Championship, Austin Theory versus John Big Match Cena. What do you think?
Man, it's hard for me to see A-Town go down, but he ain't beat John Cena, man. Is that for the title?
Yeah, it is. It's for the U.S.
Oh
title.
man, oh wow.
Yep.
Yeah,
Cena's gonna have a quick run like The Rock did that time when he beat Cena for the title at WrestleMania, and then a month or two later he lost it in the next pay-per-view to Cena. That it's probably gonna happen again. I guess to get everybody, storyline going with that. Becky Lynch, Lita, Trish Stratus, and Damage versus Damage Control. What do you think?
Say that again.
Becky Lynch, Lita, Trish Stratus versus Damage Control.
I got to go with the man. I got to go with the man.
Oh, you know it. Next, Edge versus Finn Balor, Hell in a Cell match. You think Edge takes him out before he retires?
Man, that's going to be tough. I think I gotta give the edge to Edge.
I like that. Give the edge to Edge. Yeah, I was watching Rocky 3 last night after we had the show, and I like when Apollo Creed said, "You lost your edge." He said, Rocky, you lost your edge. The way to get it back, I had the tiger, man, the edge. Yeah. Intercontinental belt, Gunther versus Sheamus and Drew McIntyre in a triple threat match. What do you think?
Oh man, I gotta go with Drew.
Okay.
I always go with Drew.
Yeah, I think so too. Rumor has it he is going to get the belt and he's going to become a heel. That's the rumor I'm hearing right now.
Wow.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. All right, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez have already qualified. There's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more people. There's going to be 8 women involved in some sort of a, like I said, a battle royal or something like that for the number 1 contender for one of the women's matches. That's happening. Braun Strowman and Ricochet versus the Street Profits, Alpha Academy, and the Viking Raiders in a special 4-team match to be was announced for this card, giving some roster stables a chance to showcase their skills on the biggest stage in wrestling. This is going to be for a number 1 contender for either the SmackDown or the Raw tag team belts, depending on where these guys go when the draft comes up. What do you think?
Woo, man. That's a tough one right there. What you think, bro?
I'm taking Strowman and Ricochet or the Street Profits. I don't like Alpha Academy anyway. They don't do anything but joke around and clown around. They don't win matches. Viking Raiders could do it. They've been running racket all over the place lately. I think the Viking Raiders might get their shot this time.
I don't know if Otis is a hand model now, right?
Yeah, his name is Otis. Otis.
Otis.
I like that, man. Otis. Yeah, they're saying Dominic Mysterio versus Rey Mysterio is a definite, and the Bobby Lashley Bray Wyatt match has been postponed. They are trying to find another contender for Bobby Lashley to have that match anyway. All right, so we went over that, and then tonight we're going to get into some more wrestling news here before we go to our top 10s that I left out here a little bit. Let me see here. Okay, Hangman Page, I forgot to mention earlier, is joining the Elite for now, based on the fact that Kenny, Doug says here, Smokin' Jim, Otis is going to be the next Rick the Model Martel. Do you know his birthday was this week? He's 71 years old. 71 years old. And he still looks pretty decent too, Smokin' Jimmy. Some of these guys, they didn't take care of their bodies when they were done wrestling, and a lot of them look terrible. But he looks pretty decent. I mean, yeah, Hangman Page is supposed to be joining the Elite. Kenny Omega is supposed to be the first one to leave. His contract runs out real soon, or has ran out already, and that's going to happen. In Impact Wrestling, Lindsay Dorado, he was part of that Lucha Club or whatever back in a few years back. He is debuting soon on Impact and has signed a contract with them. So, that's pretty good for him. He's been around a long time, Lindsay Dorado, anyway. All right, next, let's get into our top 10s tonight, Smokin' Jim, and here we are. You ready for our top 10s?
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go. All right, our top 10s are tonight superstars who could return or debut after WrestleMania for the WWE. Number 10, Tommaso Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa's been hurt, but he's coming back. They said he's going to team up with Johnny Gargano and Dexter Lumis, and they're going to form some kind of a faction like they did down in NXT. Number 9, Big E. They're saying there's rumors Big E could be back after WrestleMania. Smokin' Jim, what do you think about Big E?
I love Big E, man. Hopefully he comes back and can stay healthy.
Oh, yeah. Number 8, Alexa Bliss. We already discussed her. Number 7, Naomi. Naomi is supposed to be coming back. The original plan was to have her join the Bloodline and Nia Jax join the Bloodline, but you know where this is all going. So Naomi is coming back supposedly after WrestleMania. Number 6, you ready for this, Smokin' Jim? Pat McAfee. But here's the thing. Triple H is so angry with him about him taking that college job and ditching WWE that he's punishing Pat McAfee. So if he comes back, the story I'm hearing, he's going to be on that, how they do the pay-per-view pre-show? He's going to be doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not going to take I got some bad news. Wade Barrett. Hey, I like that, man. I like imitating him. I got some bad news. Bad news Barrett. Yeah, they're not going to take Wade Barrett off. So, All right, next, number 5, Matt Cardona, formerly known as the Long Island IC, Zack Ryder. But he has made a comment that since his wife, Chelsea Green, is being treated like crap right now, he says he don't think he's going to come back to the WWE, and he likes his freedom of going around to all the different wrestling, independent and all the wrestling federations and picking up belts and stuff rather than being tied down. Number 4, we already talked about this, Carmelo Hayes. Number 3 is the Authors of Pain are coming back after WrestleMania. What do you think of that?
Wow, that's a shocker.
Yeah, and they're back with Paul Ellering again. So let's see how that works out. Okay. Triple H promises, he was on a podcast this week. He promises that this time the Authors of Pain are going to get better play than they did the last time. Randy Orton, number 2. We already talked about that. I think he'll be back. What do you think?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's great news.
Number 1, Jay White. Jay White's one of the hottest commodities right now, other than Kenny Omega, when he becomes a free agent. Jay White may be signing with the WWE as well. All right, next, the top 10 wrestlers who got kicked out of the locker room. You ready for this one, Smokin' Jim? That got kicked out of the locker room. All right, now let's start off with number 10, The Miz. When The Miz first came into wrestling, Smokin' Jim, he got kicked out of the locker room because he was causing he refused to carry somebody's bags out to the coach busters. Number 9, the Bella Twins. They got kicked out one time or another here for some incident. Number 8, the Young Bucks. Now, the Young Bucks were once in the WWE back in the early 2000s and in the 90s there, a little bit there towards, but I think it was around the early 2000s. They were in the WWE. They got kicked out of the locker room. They thought their doo-doo didn't stink, and somebody made it stink. So, Number 7, Melina. She got kicked out of the locker room for causing some problems. Number 6, Don Callis. Don Callis is the manager for the Elite over in AEW. He's been with Impact for a long time. He was once a manager in the WWE. I can't remember who he managed. He managed some kind of tag team. And he got booted out of the locker room for getting ignorant with Vince McMahon. Next, number 5, the Hardys. The Hardys got kicked out of the locker room once for some kind of a dispute. Next, number 4, the former school teacher turned wrestler and then announcer, Matt Striker. Matt Striker was on Impact Wrestling with Josh Matthews for a little while. They changed the broadcast team. Tom Phillips is there now. The old announcer from WWE is going by his real name, Tom Hanahan. And so I don't know who his sidekick is these days. Number 3 is our friend and yours, Enzo Amore. Number two, Ken Anderson, also known in the WWE as Ken Kennedy. Kennedy. Remember, he picked the mic, Kennedy. And number 1, you ready for this? You're not going to believe it. Take a guess.
Okay.
Take a guess. It's a tag team fighting in WrestleMania.
I'm drawing the blank. I can't even think who could be number 1.
Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens.
That makes sense.
I know, doesn't it? Yeah, that's a. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was our top 10 for tonight. We're going to conclude tonight's Talking Wrestling. Smokin' Jim, any final thoughts for you tonight?
No, man, that was a great show, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was great to have Neil Haley on. We're going to have him on again, and we're going to have some wrestlers on here, it looks like, with getting in association with Neil. That's going to be great. Doug says thank you for the show. You're welcome, Doug. I appreciate that. So, that could happen as well. And Smokin' Jim, I'm going to text you something that Neil told me earlier, but I'll get a hold of you by messenger, okay?
All right. Thank you, buddy.
You're welcome. Because he told me something that's very interesting that I wasn't aware of, but I am now. Don't forget tomorrow night, all you big-time wrestling fans. Well, you all right, Smokin' Jim?
Oh, yeah.
Are you sure you're not getting sucked up by the dinosaur over there at the casino or something?
Sorry about that.
Oh, my. I thought you were getting sucked up by one of them submarines over there by the Carnegie Science Center or something like that. I got a friend of mine that works on one of them boats.
Okay.
Yeah. He works on one of them boats over there. Oh, my gosh. I thought he actually was the one that drove the boat, but he said no. He escorts everybody onto the boat. So, hey, that's better than nothing. As long as
that's right. Yeah.
As long as you don't get seasick. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or river sick, more or less. Hey, speaking of fish in the river, I always thought the biggest catfish were here in Pittsburgh. Well, some guy in Australia, in a river in Australia, you ready for this? Caught a 250-pound catfish. It took him an hour to reel it in.
Wow.
That's
amazing.
You know what that is, don't you? That's 251-pound catfish sandwiches. Oh, you know what? Al Levine, the talking machine, could do 250 of his cooking show with that.
You ain't lying, bro. You ain't lying.
The Speedy Gourmet. Oh my. Oh man. I tell you what, man. It pays to laugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes,
all
sir.
right. For Smokin' Jim Frazier. Don't forget tomorrow night, Smokin' Jim and I and Mark Mancini, 8:00 p.m. start time. The Wrestle Talk and Sports Talk tomorrow night. Big news about the Judgment Day. I will tell you tomorrow. You will know tomorrow night. 347-205-9631 is the number to call to listen to the show. National syndicated on Blog Talk Radio Live. Mark Mancini, myself, and Smokin' Jim Frazier. And also don't forget tomorrow night, starting at 4, or tomorrow afternoon, starting at 4 o'clock, The Way I See It. We'll be live on PCTV's Facebook page, and it'll be on a rotating basis on PCTV, Channel 21, Comcast 47, Verizon Cable in Allegheny County, and in Western Pennsylvania on PCTV's Facebook page. Also, do not forget, 6 p.m. tomorrow night, live call-in show, Sports Corner, myself, Smokin' Jim Frazier, and every night when we do the TV show, except for next month's show, it'll be a special draft show. I have some big-time guests coming on. It's going to be a great show, Smokin' Jim, on April 6th. We have a huge guest lineup for this draft show for April 6th coming up in April. But this show is the one that we had to reschedule because of the situation with my nephew in Youngstown, Ohio. those of you who want to know what's going on, he's going in for surgery tomorrow. They still are trying to get the infection out of his lungs, and he's got a few other complications right now, but he's starting to respond. He's moving his arms, his eyes, his legs, or he's starting to respond a little bit. So it's been hit and miss. It's been kind of up and down like a roller coaster, but he's still in ICU and he's still in stable condition. And I thank everyone for the prayers for my nephew as well, and you as well, Smokin' Jim, for your prayers for my nephew. I really appreciate that, buddy. Thank you. So
you're welcome, sir.
Yeah, and so tomorrow night, 6 p.m., Smokin' Jim and I, Sports Corner. We have a new phone number. I'll have it for you tomorrow night. Don't forget to tune in if you live in Allegheny County here, and also live on PCTV's Facebook page. 30 minutes of sports. We'll talk a little bit about what the Steelers did and some other things. And then the second half hour, we will talk wrestling. So it'll be a great thing. You can call in, but I have a new number, which I'll give you tomorrow night. Supposedly the station has a new phone number, and we'll get it out to you tomorrow night. For Smokin' Jim Frazier, I am Ralph Williams. You have yourselves a great night, and be safe.